Hello, everybody. Good evening. So nice to see all of you again. And we have been talking about Eightfold Path, and we discussed, I think, first four: right view, right thought, right speech, and right conduct. And today is right livelihood. That means Soa in Tibetan. Actually, these last four are part of the Shila. Shila is many times translated as discipline, and I think many of you know that I don't like the word discipline, because when you say discipline, it has some kind of implication that there is somebody who is controlling you and forcing you to do something and forcing you to not do something. And that makes me feel that I should not do that. I want to do what I'm told not to do. And I would not do what I'm told not to do. I think this is a little bit of kind of a little bit undisciplined people like me. If somebody tells me not to do this, I say, why not? So then, you tend to do what you are not supposed to do. So therefore, I don't like this word. I think actually, if you really look into the understanding of Shila, then it's not about somebody controlling you or, making you do things or, kind of forcing you not to do things. It's not like that. It's about our own decision, it's just giving reasons, if we do this, this will happen. If you do that, that will happen. If you touch a burning fire, you will get burnt. If you want to get burnt, you can touch it. If you put your hand in the ice, you will feel cold. If you like to feel cold, you should do that. If not, then you would not do it. The decision is ours. I think we need to understand this very clearly, and deeply. If we can understand this very deeply and clearly, then we would not feel that these are disciplines, but these are our decisions. Decisions that we make based on our, experience, our investigation, our, wisdom and understanding that these things, would bring these actions of whether body, speech, or mind will bring not good results or undesirable results. So therefore, I would not do it. I don't want to do it. And these actions of body, speech, mind will bring beneficial or desirable results. So therefore, I would like to kind of develop or increase doing this. So when we have that understanding, then these things will not feel like a discipline, like a burden, like a forced, way of doing things, but our, own decision based on our own understanding and knowledge. I think that is extremely important. And that actually, I think, separates the Buddhist way of Sila with, many other ways of thinking and things like that. So this is, I think, extremely important. So now, today, we come to the right livelihood. So when we are talking about livelihood, livelihood means our way of earning our living, or in another way, what kind of professions do we choose? What kind of work that we choose to do, or how do we spend our life with kind of what circles or what activities or things like that. That's livelihood. So this is regarded important because there are some professions or livelihood which if we are engaged in that, then I cannot decide that I would not do something that would be harmful and destructive to people. Like for instance, if you are engaged in creating wars or something like that, or many other things like that. So we have to look and see which kind of professions or work or things are like that, which which kind of makes us, or we have to do those things even if we don't want to do it, because that's the part of our duty. That's the part of our profession or work. So if we have chosen that kind of a profession, then it will be very difficult for us, not to do those things. So therefore, it will kind of compel us to do things, and it will be very difficult to not do those. So therefore, it is, I think, important from. Of course, there are sometimes situations that you have no choice. Sometimes you are in situations because of certain, way in which kind of country you live, which kind of under systems you live, which kind of, then you have to do what we are told to do. Otherwise, there is no way. And when that kind of a situation happens, and then of course, one has to do as best as one can in that situation, because you cannot, have the freedom to choose. That's another story, I think. But if we have the choice and if we have the freedom to choose, then it is important to choose what kind of profession which brings more help, more benefits, more something that is good to other people and also good for yourself, to try to choose that. That is important. When I was young and when I was working in the universities, many young people would come to me and ask, I want to choose a profession which would be so nice and so interesting, and that, I could enjoy it all my life. What should I choose? Some people will ask me. And then I would say, what are you interested in? Maybe you should do something that is that interests you most. And some of them would say, oh, I'm interested in sports, in football, in all the kind of those sports things. So then I say, maybe you can choose that. And some of them chose. Sports as their profession. And some of them became successful. They played, football and things like that for some time. After that, they went into the office. They became like a director, under director, under secretary, deputy secretary. Like they became quite a high level. But they told me that they were not happy. It was not interesting anymore. It was very interesting in the beginning, but slowly when it became a job, then it was a job, and job is not that interesting. So therefore, it made me think, what should be the most interesting profession? What should I suggest if somebody asks me, what kind of profession that I should take up? Then I was thinking that maybe, anything that we take up as a job becomes a job, and the job becomes, after some time, not as interesting as when it is not a job. So what would keep your interest and keep you kind of, enthusiastic about the work? Then I was thinking that maybe, what can keep you feel that I'm doing something that's, whether it's very interesting or not very interesting, something that I feel that it's worth doing, because I found that many of the people who are doing jobs, whatever profession they are in, they have, after some time, a problem of feeling what they call, kind of senselessness and meaninglessness, satisfaction of their job satisfaction. So what would give me the job satisfaction? So it seems, if you're doing something that you know, you can see that what I'm doing is actually, helping some people, actually, benefiting some people, then at least, even if it is not that interesting, not that kind of enthusiastic or, exciting, but you have a feeling that, yeah, there is some good thing coming out of it. There is some benefit because it is benefiting some people. And I found that seems to be the key of not losing the job satisfaction, because, even if it is sometimes boring, even if it is sometimes, challenging, even if sometimes it is, not as interesting as it should be, very routine. Every routine is not so interesting. But if you know that this is something which needs to be done, which is really helpful, if you've done nicely and beneficial to people, then at least at the end of the day, you have a feeling that, there was a great need for this. There was something, useful happening because of this I'm doing. And I think that keeps my mind kind of little bit fulfilled, So since then, I've been suggesting people that, you should try to find something that would give you, a feeling that this would be helpful and useful and beneficial to as many as possible, as broadly as possible to people. Then I think it would. And many people said this was very useful. I think this is, maybe a way of, understanding, because from, I think from not only from Buddhist point of view, from, every point of view, we should be doing something. We should earn our living. And if we can earn our living by doing something that is also good and helpful and benefiting somebody or some other people or many people, if possible, then we have a feeling that, I'm earning my living, but I'm at the same time also doing something useful, something good, something beneficial, something helpful to the other people also. And that is, I think, is the way, I think. And many times, sometimes people have this thing that, the business is always like regarded as, not so nice because you are getting lots of profit, and it's kind of in a way, somebody becomes rich, then you think that that rich person must have kind of tricked people from and got things. But I think it's not totally necessary. I mean, you could be doing a business and good business, and you could be helping yourself, but you could be helping others also. So there are many areas like that, I think. So, basically, this is about this kind of, this kind of idea, choosing the good and positive livelihood. But this is, again, I think, important to understand that it is not to look down on some professions and then, think that they are lowly or they are negative or they are, they are bad or anything like that. Because as we can all know, sometimes they are very, very good people and very, even some enlightened people doing things which are supposed to be or generally understood as something very negative. From the Buddhist perspective, the butchers are regarded one of the worst professions because, you kill animals, and then that's your kind of profession. But there are many stories like butchers being great bodhisattvas, and even like very attained siddhas. I don't know if you heard this story. Maybe I told. One time, there were two monks, and they wanted to go to Shambhala. And they gathered together all the maps and, guide books on Shambhala. There are actually books written on how to go to Shambhala, guide books. Nobody reached there, or if they reached, didn't come back. So these two monks went, and then they went to see Panchen Lama, because Panchen Lama is supposed to be, somehow related with Shambhala. And then they asked the Panchen Lama, that time Panchen Lama, I don't know which one, they said, we really want to go to Shambhala, and we have all these, maps and, the guidebooks and things like that. But can you really tell us how to go there? We really want to go. He said, well, if you go by these guidance books, I don't know whether you will reach there, because it's very complicated and it's not exactly, easy. But if you really want to go, then you go to Lhasa. You go to Lhasa, and then in the Lhasa, there is a, section of the town where they are all butchers. Among these butchers, there is one butcher. You will not mistake him, because he's very tall, he's very aggressive looking, he has red hair, and he's one of the kind of most, what can you say, aggressive one, and everybody knows him. So you go to him, and then you give this letter to him from me, and then he will show you the way. So they went there, and then without too much difficulties, they found this butcher. He was really, a very big person with red kind of hair, and really angry, grumpy, not so nice kind of a person. And then they said, this letter is for you. He says, whose letter is this? Nobody should write any letter. Nobody have written any letter to me so far. Why should anybody write any letter for me? I have no friends in the whole world. They said, this is from Panchen Lama. Says, what, Panchen Lama? I don't know anything about Panchen Lama. He looked, he read this, and they said, you want to go to Shambhala? Yes, we want to go to Shambhala. You want to see Shambhala? Yes, we want to see Shambhala. This come here. Then he did his kind of his hand like this and say, look. So they looked and they could see Shambhala other side. Both of them could see Shambhala the other side. And then said, yes, we really want to go. Please help us to go there. Please help us to go there. Then he took out his big axe and said, put her head on the chopping, what do you call it?
Chopping block.
Chopping block. And they ran away. So, there are many stories of this kind, that even, kind of butchers and many other, kind of usually regarded as not so, good, are sometimes very highly realized person. So therefore, it's not about that, but about ourselves, to choose some, thing that is, that would give us, satisfaction by doing this, because sometimes we are a little bit, separating our life and our Dhamma practice, we think that, when we are doing Dhamma practice, we should sit in this our room and then, do the practice and, we spend some, hours or minutes or whatever, and then we go out and then we do something else, and that's our job, and that's different. Of course, in one way, whatever professions we are doing, we could integrate it with our life. Even the the most common, most insignificant, most kind of what can you say, most mundane work, we can, in that, if we can do it with kindness, with understanding, with maintaining some kind of a harmony and positive thoughts and positive speech and positive actions, then that becomes a positive. But if we can also at the same time choose a profession that is that helps or that supports that, then it is even better. So therefore, that's talking about in this, especially kind of trying to be a little bit, kind of doing or professions that are not too much involved in doing something that is very negative. And I don't want to, like at the end of my life, I should not regret that, I should not have done this, I should not have chosen that kind of. I think that's more or less about this right livelihood. Of course, when we talk about livelihood, it's not that, one has to do only one profession. One can do different things. One can do also, one job, and then we can do other things besides, for helping others and things like that. It's not that we have to find, because it's not always easy to find a job, because nowadays, most of people has to depend their livelihood with the job. Before there was in Tibet, as I remember, there was nothing called a profession because there was no job. Nobody was looking for a job. Actually, there was nothing called employment already, even. Everybody, there were kind of two professions, more or less. One is the, like the farmers, what do you call it? Shingba and Rokpa, they call it. Field farmers and cattle farmers. There were only these two. And then, whatever these cattle farmers produce, they sold their products to the other side and then got what they needed from there. And then they exchanged. There was not even, even money used, only the, it was barter system. And then nobody had a kind of a job. Everybody did help a little bit here, there, and things like that. And then when there was, it was necessary to plow the land, everybody came and plowed the land. When it's time to, harvest, everybody came and harvested. When it's, and then same thing with the, nomads, when they had to move the cattle from here to there, everybody helped. And it was just like that. And the rest of the time, then people just had picnic, more or less. But now it's not like that. Everybody has to have a job and, things like that. So therefore, of course, sometimes maybe it's not possible to completely choose, because, sometimes in many countries, it's not easy to get jobs. It's more and more difficult to find jobs, and especially, the kind of the jobs that are sought after. So therefore, whatever profession you are in, that's, of course, if you have a good one, then I think it's also good that we appreciate that. We appreciate and value the job that we have. And, because sometimes it is also like that people think that, that the job I'm doing, the profession I have is, comparatively, we always compare with others, comparatively more difficult, more or less paying, more, not good, and not, things like that. And then, we feel bad, we feel very kind of more stressed, more unhappy, more dissatisfied, because something else would be much more interesting, much more nicer, much more better, and things like that. And this is also sometimes a problem, because, I know people have changed jobs a few times, and everywhere it was kind of the same way. There are always difficulties, there are always problems, there are always, downside, and there are always people have, who are not so easy to work with, and things like that. So therefore, sometimes I think one of the most important things is to try to find a way to kind of bring harmony to the group, to the among the people working together. I have really found that sometimes one person can make a big difference in the whole kind of whether it's an office or an organization or workplace. That if there's one person who is very stable, grounded, kind, and a little bit wise, and then slowly people can become very trust that person, and that person can help everybody to come together and bring harmony among themselves, and then everybody is happy. If there is harmony, then everybody is much more relaxed, much more joyful, much more productive, and much nicer. And many times there is, in the workplace, there's lots of tension, there's lots of distrust, there's lots of suspicion, there's lots of, infighting, there's lots of, trying to pull down each other, and all kind of things, and then backbiting, and then everybody is unhappy. There's created very disharmonies and very lots of tensions, and I have seen this everywhere. It's not just in the West, it's everywhere. That if there is that kind of atmosphere, then everybody in that workplace have tension and unpleasant situation and difficult, will be relieved when they can go out of it. But if there is harmony, it will be joy to go to the office, and it's really, it's so different, so nice, things like that. So therefore, I think that is, I really think that it's also one way of creating a kind of a right livelihood, is to not necessarily about choosing a particular job or a profession, but making trying to create the right kind of situation, the right kind of relationship, right kind of atmosphere in the workplace, so that everybody in that kind of workplace or environment or things like that can work harmoniously, peacefully, worry-free, a little bit trusting, and confidently, and then you are helping them. You are helping all the other people. Without, maybe they may not acknowledge that, they may not even know, but you are doing that, and that is, I think, a very important, I think, part or important area of the right livelihood, I think, because it's not just about you, how you are doing, but in trying to create that kind of a situation, and helping to bring that kind of a situation wherever you are. So this is, I think, very important, because I know some people, if that person is there, then I know that that place will be okay. There would be no much problem. Everything will be okay, because he or she has such a kind of personality and way of dealing things that everybody would be, kept in a good way. And there are some other people, wherever you go, you have problems, and it's a lot to do with how we are, because how we are, then we see the world like that. The world is, I think it's very important to understand this, and that if we, we carry our world wherever we are. This I have 100% now believe that it's like that. I always used to tell this story, which I told like hundreds of thousands of times, I think, about this story from Bible. This, I think all of you have heard it many, many times, that, this, the wise shepherd, I can tell it again, because I I like this story so much, because I really find this so true. This wise shepherd was on this path where, it's a kind of path, but people had to go through this kind of so he used to look after his sheep there. And then one traveler, one person came, and he met this shepherd, and he looked down in the valley, and there was this small village there. And he said, "Is that village your village?" He said, "Yes, that's my village." And then he asked, "What kind of people live there in your village?" And then the shepherd said, "Where do you come from?" He said, "I come from so and so village somewhere." And then he said, "What kind of people lived in your village?" He said, "Well, they were, not very good people. They were very nasty people. They are unfriendly. They are, unhospitable. They are, quarrelsome. They're not very nice people. They're very unpleasant people." Then the shepherd said, "Oh yes, it's exactly the same way here. The village down there, which is my village, is exactly the same way." So he passed, he went away. And then after a few minutes, another person came, and he asked the same question to the shepherd. He said, "Is this your village down there?" He said, "Yes." He says, "What kind of people live there?" And he said again, "Where do you come from?" "I come from another village, kind of different place." Then he says, "What kind of people live in your village?" He said, "Oh, they're very nice people. They're very kind. They're very generous. They're very hospitable. They're so nice people." Then the shepherd said, "Oh, exactly same. The village down there is exactly same. They are so nice. They're so kind. They're so hospitable. They're exactly the same way." Now, that's the story. But my interpretation is that, this shepherd is regarded as a wise shepherd, and why a wise shepherd should give totally two, opposite information about the people of his village. to these two different people? I think it's because, the one who found his people in his village very, very bad, if he went to this village, he would find them in the same way, because he was like that. And the other person who found people in his village very nice, if he went to this village, he would also find them very nice. And this is absolutely true. I've experimented with them, with people. Many people come to like India and Sikkim and, Nepal and things like that. I could tell from before they went there how they will find it. And my guess was right. So it's really like that. So therefore, I think this is something that we really need to understand. And if we find that everybody around me not so nice, then instead of complaining about them, first maybe look at yourself, what you are doing and how you are doing things. So anyway, so I would like to stop here and any questions, you are most welcome.
People didn't, I suppose, get us yet to the questions. They sort of, there's no hands. There's no hands up. But I can say, well, I put myself into the spotlight. Falsch. Rinpoche. So when you were talking about this responsibilities, right, livelihood, and like telling all these stories, it just came to me this saying from this Indian Native American chief, that he was saying, like in Western people, they came to the world and they think they came with rights, and these native people were saying, we have different culture. In our culture, we think we came to the world with responsibilities, and that's basically exactly what you were saying. Like, we really think about our rights, but in fact we don't really think about our responsibilities. How we don't take responsibility for our workplace, for example, for atmosphere in our workplace. We think that we have a right to have nice atmosphere. We have the right to have nice work and everything like this. But seems like this right, it's not exactly what we have. We need to make it happen, and that's our responsibility. So that was my sort of not a question really, but resolve from that what you were saying. Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you. I think you're right.
There's another question I see. In a sec. There we are. Oh, you need to get tone, of course. There.
Hello, Rinpoche.
Hello.
Chashidele.
Chashidele, where are you?
Oh,
Oh, yes.
I'm not sure. Hello.
Oh, how are you? Everything good?
Yes.
Okay.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
So I want to share some experience about something you talked about butchers.
About what?
About butchers.
Okay.
So I live in a village, right?
Yeah.
And so in my village, people kill, their pigs, their goats, their sheep, sometimes cows. But one of my best friends. He's just like person you described, like very, very stable, very kind of very grounded person. Always bringing harmony wherever he goes. And he's a peasant and a mason. So he even rebuilt our Dharma center twice.
Okay.
And of course, he's also kind of selling pigs, right?
Uh-huh.
And very often before he sells pigs, he sells meat, you know, like, so he has to butcher the pigs.
Yes.
And it's kind of common thing. You
Yes.
just go and kill a pig. You know, and I cannot understand this at all in a way. Because kind of, as I know him and I love him, he is almost like a saint for me. He is like 70-something years old, really, really stable and great guy. Like, I just love to be around him. I love to work with him. Everything is great about him. And yet at the same time, he's like almost like a professional butcher, you know, like really doing a lot of killing. So I just cannot understand how that goes. I mean, did you meet anytime somebody like that, you know, who is kind of doing something we considered like Buddhist, like very bad, but it's actually a great person? I just can't understand.
No, they're like that. There are lots of people like that.
Yeah.
My mother used to talk about a person, you know, who kind of worked for the family.
Mm-hmm.
And she said he was like, you know, he was, you know, in that kind of area, you know, there's nothing kind of called, you know, professional butchers, you know, there's no butchers. Yeah. But, you know, people don't want to, nobody wants to kill their own kind of cattle. So, you know, they pay somebody to come and, you know, kind of butcher their own cattle also. So he was one of them. And he used to go and help everybody around the area to kill their, you know, animals. But he himself was vegetarian. He himself was totally vegetarian. And he, you know, and he was like, you know, at the age, at that time, he was quite old, you know, but he was very happy. He was very joyful. He used to like put his earrings and, you know, some little ornaments. And then if they said, you know, you look so nice with this kind of thing, he would do that, and he would dance and he would sing and things like that. So one of the most kind of pleasant person. She used to talk about this. There are people like that. Yeah.
So I don't know, like there is this kind of, you know, we should believe, you know, like that killing is really something bad, and it takes certain amount of hatred to kill, right? It's not helping just like, it's not happening just without some kind of aggression or hatred or something, right?
Oh, no. They don't have, you don't have to be hated. You know, they don't, this kind of, anybody who is killing him, of course, some people can do, but they kill with compassion. They always kill with like, they don't like to kill. There was a butcher in Sikkim, and he used to kill pigs. And then people used to say, you know, like, why you are killing, why you are. He said, it's not for me. I'm just doing, you know, some job, but it's because you want to eat meat. So therefore, you know, I have no I don't have any negative karma. You have.
Yeah. Yeah. It must be like that. It must be like that. Yeah.
There's some truth in it also.
Thank you very much, Rinpoche. I'm sorry, to maybe occupy your time discussing butchers, but it's just like interesting, right? How much prejudice we can have about other people without really them doing nothing wrong.
Yeah, that's the question.
Thank you very much.
There's another question.
Okay. Hello,
Hello. Thank you.
Elisa.
Yes. we
Malu.
we had a question that came up yesterday, actually, but funnily, it corresponds a little bit to what we just talked about. Can you hear?
Yes, I can hear.
We live in a very rural area as well. It's in Brittany, in the west end of Europe, where there's a lot of agriculture, of course, a lot of industrial agriculture, and the people that we know and our friends, we all have our, so to say, our idea about that. And certainly also a lot of judgments. And at the same time, we go a lot in the forest. We spend several days with a lot of children in the forest, hoping that will be beneficial in some way. And then often the question comes up, how much can we take? The question, somebody yesterday had a question, if we find something, can we take it or not? Is it given or not? And in nature, how much is nature happy to give or not to give? And we don't know very much about Buddhism, but we were wondering if there's an idea about it.
Well, it's Buddhism is not like the right. It doesn't have to be judged by Buddhism. It has to be judged by our kind of how things are. So if you find something on the road, I think I will take it. If there is nobody owns it. Of course, if you find in there that there's, it belonged to somebody, then maybe, I would return it, but, things like that. And of course, in the forest, if it is, then, well, it depends, there are different situations, in some, I think you have to a little bit follow the, maybe more or less the law of the land sometimes. But sometimes the law of the land is not always just, but, if the forest belonged to somebody or it was not allowed to do something, then maybe it's not good. But otherwise, something in the forest, I think usually it's okay to use, but not maybe cut the trees and, things like that. These are all, I think it depends on situation to situation,
There's no general idea how much is nature happy to give or not to give.
Oh, nature is nature. Nature is almost everything is nature, not like there, which is already there. But the way we human beings use nature is sometimes, it's complicated. We kind of we exploit the nature, we misuse the nature, we spoil the nature, we pollute the nature, and then kind of unintentionally or ignorantly we actually do lots of harm for ourselves,
Mm.
because when the nature is, the nature around us is polluted and, negatively affected, that will affect us negatively more than anything else. But, it's something we need to learn slowly.
Mhm. To look back on us as well, and not only regard the nature as something that is outside of us.
What did you say?
So I hear like that we can judge what is okay and what is not okay by not thinking nature is something outside and we are here, but we are part of it. So whatever we do to nature, we do to ourselves as well.
Yeah, I mean, like there's water. The nature is mainly, there's water, there's earth, there's, fire, there's wind, then the trees and, flowers, and then there are lots of, all these things is, nature, nature is there. And then, of course, there are lots of animals and things like that which live in the nature, like us. So this, nature's kind of the environment that if it is in harmony, if it is in kind of a good health, then we live in a positive and healthy and harmonious environment, which affect us because we are, interdependent on that. It's like the world that we live in is like like the container, and we are like the content. Like if the container is not clean, it's dirty or poisonous, then whatever you are inside that, it becomes poisonous. So that's why so we have to, I think, understand this in this from Buddhist point of view. We always is spoken like that. Nu and chut. Nu chut. We say nu chut. Nu is like a container, like a pot, and chut is what it contains, content inside. So we use the word nu for the environment, for the world, for the earth, and the chut, the content is like all us, like sentient beings and human beings and things like that. So our relationship with, as human beings and the world around us, the nature around us, is like the content and the container. So if the container becomes broken, then we just there's no way that we can be. And if that is poisoned, then we all become poisoned, because so that's the kind of attitude that's that is usually talked about in Buddhist literature.
Thank you.
Did you see some hand? I didn't see any.
I did.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Marla.
yes.
Yes. Hello, Marla.
Yes, please. Hello. Yes. Good evening, Rinpoche. Thank you. Yeah, the livelihood in Holland. Yeah, I'm not the best in the right livelihood in making money, but anyway, I'm lucky I can do things I like, good job or small jobs, like helping foreigners or other people with language or cooking or anyway, small things. I have time to practice, and I did practice with Rigpa and also Bodhicharya London very nicely. But now I feel, because not so much things are so successful, but I was thinking to do more Chö practice, not Chöt from the container, but Chö. And because Rinpoche, you thought the basis should be good, the basic. If the basis is good, could that be, I think that's something I like to do. And since you also say it's good to do the things that you like, do you think it's a good idea? It's part of Nundro or apart? Chö
is this like, this...
yeah, I don't have this term in things, but it's because your monk, Tenzin Palcho, he said Chö could be also that you give, but giving can also sometimes disturb other people. If you are generous in this society, too generous, you get also a problem with people, I discovered in my family, for instance. Yeah.
Chö is, as you know, it's something that was started in India, in Tibet, actually. Of course, the idea comes from Buddhism, but the system of Chö that we do now comes from Machi Labdön. It's a lady, and she is the founder of the Chö. And the Chö system is spread in all Tibetan Buddhist schools. Nyingma Street Chö, Kagyu Street Chö, Sakya Street Chö, Geluk Street Chö, Rempo Street Chö. Everybody does Chö. It's very popular.
Oh,
very, very popular. One of the most popular practices. And that the founder, the Machi Labdön, was a very young girl, kind of at a very young age. She was very good at reading. She was a fast reader, very good reader. And then because she was a fast reader, at that time, and even now it's like that, but, people, the Buddhists would like to like to invite monks to recite or read the scriptures, like, Prajnaparamita Sutras and things like that. So Labdön, she was asked to, she was invited to read these sutras because she was very fast. So she could read, I don't know, a few volumes a day or something like that. And she read so many times the Prajnaparamita Sutras that she actually understood it. And then when she met this great Indian Pandit called Patamba Samji, he gave her one instruction and she got it. And she completely, understood how to practice. And then she became a great, great yogini, great master. And then she taught this Chö practice, and she had many students, and then that the Chö practice spread all over Tibet and everywhere. And the most highest and most what can you say, the greatest Tibetan masters became her followers, like the Karmapas and whoever, and so this became one of the most popular practice. Also, it became popular, I think, because it has very nice tunes.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
very nice tunes. You have a damaru, and then they sing, and then sing very, there are
Yes.
so many different
Melody.
melodies and things like that. So people are very happy with that.
Yes.
Of course, the main understanding or teaching about that is Prajnaparamita sutras, and the there's all kind of very deep teachings are that also. So this is this is practiced by all schools of Tibetan Buddhism, but it's also a little bit like what can you say? It's a little bit of you have to have damaru, and you have to things like that, and then
Kangling. You need to have kangling.
kangling, which is
Not easy.
the real
to get.
kangling comes from the bones of the thigh bone,
Yes.
And then
I'm myself almost a skeleton.
yes, and then so this kind of things is not easy in the modern
Sorry.
world. Like in India, first, in the beginning, some of the Jew people were arrested by by
Yes.
police because they were carrying like human bones and things like that.
Yeah.
But the idea is very good, and nowadays it's even more popular nowadays. There are thousands of people doing Chu in Bhutan, in Nepal, and in Sikkim, and in the Himalayan countries, and sometimes there is the brother of Jamyang Chense, Jamyang Chense in Wambo, that is who is making the films, the like cup.
Oh, yeah.
His younger brother is one of the most popular teacher. And actually Dunja Rinpoche has this kind of special lineage of Chu. And this Chense Rinpoche, the present Chense Rinpoche, is grandson of the last Dunja Rinpoche, and things like that. But anyway, so Dunja Limba had Terma, and it's a very very popular one. And of course there are many, there's Nitik Chu, and there's there's Kajupas Chu, which is one of the most kind of well spread, coming from the second Karmapa and things like that. So it's like that. You can do Chu, but you can do Chu with all the instruments, but you can also do Chu without too much of instruments also, kind of simple, because all these instruments and things like that in the West may be a little bit, maybe your neighbor will complain.
Yes.
And things like that. I don't know, it depends on, but so,
So it can be part of the right livelihood or the Eightfold Path. It's not too much astray.
No, it's all come together. That's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, good. Nice. Thank you.
Rinpoche La, I was thinking, because there's no more questions I see. You talk about so nicely about this Che practice, but I know there's another practice also very, very much popular. Maybe you could tell about this one as a Nyungne.
Oh, that's not nice.
It is not nice. This was my first practice,
Not
actually.
nice.
Nyungne.
That is really not nice.
I have a friend.
You know
who
what
is-
it is?
Yes, I know.
You know it, but everybody else.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's fasting. It's fasting so much, but there is new Nyene. There's
Nyene.
another one.
Yes.
The Nyene is to observe the 8 precepts for one day, for 24 hours.
Yes.
That was so much recommended by the Buddha. There are lots of teachings on Buddha saying that, if you do that, one time, then, you will be like, no problem at all. You will never be reborn into a negative life and things like that. And that's easier. I am a supporter of that. I'm not very enthusiastic of Nyungne, although some people do it like 100 times, 108 times. It's for 2 days. It's for, 48 hours. I'll tell you why I don't like, because I don't like fasting. I did once. I did a few times, but, when I was very young. And today, you take the vow early morning, and then, you have a lunch. Lunch, you can have anything. You can have a very nice vegetarian, all vegetarian. Lunch, you can, huge lunch you can have. Then after lunch, then you cannot eat anything. But you can drink, till the night, you can drink. And now as it falls night, from the next down, then you cannot eat anything, you cannot drink anything, you cannot speak, you are totally silent, you don't drink, you don't eat for the whole day and for the whole night. So for 24 hours, you don't eat, you don't, no, not for 24 hours. From the yesterday, like midday, then you don't eat anything, then you don't drink, you don't, and then it ends on the, the next, on the 48 in the down. And then they make a little kind of very light soup, kind of a tsampas, little bit, not thick, but very light. And then you can drink that. And that's one pair of Nyungne. I did that Nyungne, and then I had like dreams, what do you call it? Traumas, nightmares of, food coming, and, that I cannot eat, and, it's, can sleep a little bit, but not really, trauma in this. And then I can smell Tsampa, which is like 100 yards away. Usually Tsampa doesn't have too much smell, but, it was torture. So since then, I don't want to do any Nyungne. If people want to do it, most welcome. And this was done by, this comes from another nun called Gelongma Palmo. She was mainly in Nepal, I think. She had this special disease, what do you call it? Leprosy. And then, she did Nyungne, and she did Nyungne all her life. And then she cured herself of this leprosy. And then, it became, she taught this, and then lots of people done that. And with Nyungne, you do it, the practice of cherishing also, and things like that. So that is, Tibetans do that a lot, especially during the Buddha's the 4th month. They always do at least 2 or 3 pairs, sometimes 8 pairs, 4 pairs, 3 pairs, like that. My, settlement, the people of my settlement, every year they do, and things like that. And but I don't do, because I don't like fasting. I like eating. But this other one, not eating only for 24 hours and not eating in the evening, they maintain this 8 precepts. The same is in New Me also. 8 precepts is like not killing, not telling lies, not stealing, not taking ungiven, not having sex, not eating in the afternoon, not putting on perfumes and things like that, and not singing and dancing and all kind of this kind of, what do you call it, entertainment things, and just that, for 24 hours only.
Yeah, it's a nice practice. It's nice. There's a lot of Polish people who do that. That's very nice. Thank you very much.
In the West, the Nyingme is quite popular, actually.
It is.
Yes, quite popular. Although I never talk about that in my centers because fearing that they will ask me to do it. I'm joking. They can do it, of course. It's it's a good practice, actually. Yes.
I have a friend, Lama friend, who is doing it almost all his life, like hundreds of Nyingme he made.
Some people who do it many times. Yes.
Thank you, Rinpoche. That was nice story.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. All the best. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.